It's 9 o'clock, so let's convene the meeting, please. This is the Pennington County Planning Commission meeting for April 25th, 2016. Roll call. We seem to be missing Commissioner Coleman. He may or may not turn up. And Commissioner Buskerud is representing the county board. Approval of the April 11th, 2016 minutes. Did everybody get a chance to read through the minutes? Are there any corrections or additions? If not, Chair would entertain a motion.
So moved.
Second. It's been moved and seconded to approve the minutes of the April 11th meeting as submitted in our agenda. Is there further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Approval of the agenda. We have a lot of items on the agenda today. Would anybody like to make a motion to approve the agenda as it's written?
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the agenda. Further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. The consent calendar. The following items have been placed on the consent calendar for action to be taken on all items in accordance with staff's recommendation by a single vote. Any item may be removed from the consent calendar by any planning commissioner, staff member, or audience member for separate consideration. The findings of the Planning Commission are recommendations to the Pennington County Board of Commissioners, who, as always, will make the final decision. Cassie, would you read the items on the consent calendar into the record, please?
Absolutely. Cassie Bolstead, Assistant Planning Director. Item 3 is conditional use permit review 0617 for Carol DeLeo and Gina DeLeo to review a recreational resort in a general agriculture district. Staff recommends to end conditional use permit 0617. Item number 4 is conditional use permit amendment review CU 1408 for Basin Electric Power Cooperative. Kevin Soley is the agent to review an addition to an existing electrical substation in a limited agriculture district. Staff recommends to continue the review of conditional use permit amendment CU 1408 to the May 23, 2016 Planning Commission meeting. Item 5 is conditional use permit review 1409 for Jesse Reeb to review an existing single-family residence to be used as a second ranch hands residence in a general agriculture district. Staff recommends approval of the extension of conditional use permit 1409 with 6 conditions. Item 6, conditional use permit review 1410 for MDC Coast 2 LLC. Conrad's Big C Signs is the agent to review 2 illuminated on-premise signs within 1,500 feet of a residential zoning district / dwelling unit in a general commercial district. Staff recommends to continue the review of conditional use permit 1410 to the May 9th, 2016 Planning Commission meeting. Item 7, conditional use permit review 1412 for Penelope Cox. Holding Revocable Trust is the owner to review a single-wide mobile home as a permanent residence in a suburban residential district. Staff recommends approval of the extension of conditional use permit 1412 with 6 conditions. Item 8, conditional use permit review 1505 for Beach House LLC, Troy Schmidt, to review a vacation home rental in a low-density residential district. Staff recommends to continue the review of conditional use permit 1505 to the May 9th, 2016 Planning Commission meeting with the applicant's concurrence. Item 9, conditional use permit review 1506 for Border States Paving to review a temporary asphalt batch plant to be set up in the Pete Lean and Sons gravel pit in a general agriculture district. Staff recommends to end conditional use permit 1506 with the applicant's concurrence. Item 10 is conditional use permit review 1507 for Linda and Harlan Eisenbraun to review a single-wide mobile home to be used as a single-family residence in a general agriculture district. Staff recommends to end conditional use permit 1507 with the applicant's concurrence. Item 11, conditional use permit 1603 for Jennifer and Jason Wright to allow a recreational vehicle to be lived in part-time on the subject property in a suburban residential district. Staff recommends approval of the withdrawal of conditional use permit 1603 with the applicant's concurrence. Item 12, conditional use permit 1606 for South Canyon Country Estates Homeowners Association. Davis Engineering is the agent to bring into compliance the recreation area on the subject property in a suburban residential district. Staff recommends approval of the withdrawal of conditional use permit 1606 with the applicant's concurrence. Item 13 is conditional use permit 1607 for Donald Karras to allow an existing accessory structure, a pole barn, to remain on the subject property prior to a principal structure in a low-density residential district. Staff recommends approval of conditional use permit 1607 with 7 conditions. And item 14, conditional use permit amendment 8936 for Clyde and Diane Grauman to amend the existing conditional use permit to allow a roofing business as a home occupation in a suburban residential district. And staff recommends to continue conditional use permit amendment 8936 to the May 9th, 2016 Planning Commission meeting with the applicant's concurrence.
Thank you, Cassie. There's a lot of words. Would any planning commissioner like to remove any of these items for further consideration?
Yes, number 5 and number 7.
Number 5 and number 7, anybody else? I have one question about number 4. Would staff like to remove any?
No.
And would anybody in the audience like to remove any of these items for further discussion? Okay. Would somebody like to make a motion to approve the consent calendar?
Would move approval of consent calendar, items 3, 6, 8, 9, 10, and then 11 through 14, is that right?
Yep. Is there a second?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the consent calendar, removing items 4, 5, and 7 for further discussion. Is there further discussion on the motion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. On to item 4.
Who seconded that?
Pardon me?
Who seconded?
Ron.
Ron.
Didn't you second that?
Oh, I second.
Oh, Lori, sorry.
I have a low voice.
I just had a question on item number 4.
Yes.
Oh, I'm sorry, PJ.
It's okay, don't worry about
You
it.
get up. It's a really simple question, too. Staff recommended continuing to the May 23rd Planning Commission meeting. Isn't that the meeting that we anticipate vacation home rentals will be coming before us?
Correct.
Is there any reason why we can't?
The agent's out of state, and we have not reached them yet, and there's
Oh, okay.
a number of items that a complainant had about, that are relevant to the conditional use permit, so we wanted to give them ample time
Okay.
to respond.
All right. Then I'm fine with it as it is and would actually move that we accept conditional use permit amendment review CU 14-08 as recommended by staff to continue it to the May 23rd meeting.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to continue conditional use permit amendment review CU 1408 to the May 23rd meeting. Is there any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. On to item 5.
I just have one thing on it, and that is the review in 3 years that a couple of weeks ago, we discussed very briefly, perhaps not having these continual reviews. And this is a ranch hand residence, nothing's going to change. So I would suggest amending the conditions, let me get to 5, to say that it would be reviewed on a complaint basis or unless the property changed hands. And that would relieve the planning department of these one of these continual reviews.
Does staff have a comment on that?
Staff's comment on that would be that, we can do that. Ranch hands residents tend to be temporary. So we like to review them just to make sure that if they were to sell the property or if something were to change, we wouldn't necessarily be aware of that unless we did the review. But ultimately, if it's the desire of the Planning Commission to have it on a complaint basis only, we can do that.
I didn't say that. I said complaint basis or unless the property changes hands, which would cover what you've just said is of interest to you.
If they notified us that it changed hands, yes.
Madam Chair.
Yes.
Well, and I believe your number 2 covers if it's no longer a ranch hand. Doesn't it? So, I mean, I would kind of agree. I mean, it's kind of, should be automatically revoked if it's no longer engaged in the operation of the farm.
It all comes down to the fact that the staff doesn't know about it unless we're told or we do a review. So I would recommend maybe going to 5 years.
But there's a lot of things you don't know about.
But this is one we
People are-
have control over.
People are you're dependent on people reporting to you.
Yes, and we actually get a lot of people reporting, a lot of people are complaining, and they want more oversight in the county. That's absolutely true. But on a conditional use permit like this that already exists, we have this control mechanism right now, and if we could go to 5 years, that would be my recommendation, or keep it as is.
PJ, have we had instances where a ranch hand's residence has turned into like a rental or
Not necessarily a rental
anything
or a
like that?
second residence.
Ah,
Yes.
okay,
This is to prevent issues. That's what the reviews are for.
gotcha.
Madam Chair?
Yes,
Can I ask a
Lori.
question? If we moved it to a longer period of time, in order to be consistent with other permits you have, you would recommend 5 years?
This is only the second review, so 3 is customary.
Okay.
Unless there was any major issues, and we could go to 5. We have gone to 3 to complaint basis. It's really up to the planning commission.
The applicant is here. Hi, Chutima Sabun. The applicant Jesse Reeb is here, so if you have any question and you want to talk to him, he's right here too.
Would the applicant like to say anything, or are you okay with what's going on up here?
My only thing is
Could you, if you're going to comment, please come forward and identify yourself for the record, please.
Jesse Reed. The ranch hand your residence is used for me, and then the other one's for my sister. It's all family. I mean, my parents live in the other one, and it's all family. I don't really have any issue with however you want to take the reviews, 3 years, 5 years, or get rid of them.
You plan to be working on the ranch for
Yes,
the foreseeable
that's
future?
my plan, to be there forever. I mean, plans change, but that's the plan.
Okay.
So,
Okay, thank you.
Thank
Are there questions for Mr. Reeb? Thanks.
Well, in view of the testimony, this seems like the perfect one to remove the review.
Would you like to make a motion?
I will make a motion that conditional use permit CU 1409 be approved with the change to number 8, that the conditional use permit be,
Number 6?
number 6, I was at the wrong list. That the conditional use permit be reviewed on a complaint basis or if the property changes hands.
Is there a second to the motion? Is there a substitute motion?
Well, I'd do a substitute motion for staff's suggestion of 5-year review. And then perhaps after that, look at it.
Okay, it's been moved to review, approve the extension with a 5-year review. Is there a second to that motion?
I'll second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded to approve the extension of conditional use permit CU 14-09 with 6 conditions recommended by staff, with the exception that number 6 will be changed to the conditional use permit be reviewed in 5 years on a complaint basis or as directed by the Pennington County Planning Commission and/or Board of Commissioners to verify that all conditions of approval are met. Is there further discussion on the motion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. On to number 7.
Actually, my reason for pulling this is the same, and that is there's no reason to continually review this. People are living in it. And again, unless it changes, the property is sold, or there's a complaint, there's no reason to continually review it.
Staff's comment?
Staff would be okay with that on this one. This is a very clean property. She's done a very good job of maintaining this, and since this is the only residence on the property, staff would be fine with taking away the review of this one.
Are there questions for staff, for Cassie? Would anybody care to make a motion?
Okay. I move that we approve conditional use permit 14-12. Got to find the conditions here. Changing condition number 6 to review on a complaint basis or if the property changes hands.
Second?
It's been moved and seconded to approve the extension of conditional use permit CU 14-12 with 6 conditions. The 6th condition amended to read that this conditional use permit be reviewed on a complaint basis or as deemed necessary by either the Pennington County Planning Commission or Board of Commissioners to verify that all conditions of approval are being met. Is there further discussion on the motion?
Madam Chair, I
Yes.
think Barb wanted the phrase "or it changes hands" in there. Is that necessary?
Is,
Does a conditional use permit go away if the property is sold anyway?
no.
No, the conditional use permit would follow the property.
So does staff,
But it should be reviewed, though, then.
yeah,
Okay.
is staff okay with that,
So-
or?
Sorry. Again, we don't know when properties change hands, so a review wouldn't automatically take place. And that's the exact reason for conditional use permit reviews, is to review the conditions of a conditional use permit. I would hope this wouldn't become a habit with all conditional use permits.
It seems like the department should know when a property changes hands. What is going on in the system that doesn't happen? Because that's very important for many of these.
Well, the mechanism for, I mean, when property changes hands, the Register of Deeds knows about it.
Yes.
And equalization, I believe, knows about it, right? But information is not automatically conveyed to planning and zoning.
Or necessarily have to be,
Yeah,
which is why we do the reviews.
right.
Well, it would cut down on your work if you were just informed by the other departments that the property has changed hands.
Actually,
So it seems logical that that's something that should happen.
Commissioner Landers, I would have to respectfully disagree. It would actually increase the amount of work for our office.
Why?
Well, I would assume that properties get bought and sold every day in the county.
Yeah.
And then each one of those would have to be looked up and researched to see if there was a conditional use format, which would take additional time from the staff to take care of that.
Well, yeah, but it would all be in office rather than running out and checking on a property.
Actually, that's a really good idea, to bring reviews of conditional use permits into the office, make them administrative. I haven't thought of that. That's actually a really good idea, Barbara. We might actually pursue that.
Okay.
How is a
Sure, I
conditional
understand
use,
what's going on in that, but, okay.
how is a conditional use flagged on a title or, I mean, is it on the warranty deed?
We do not know. We have, I think it would really depend on the real estate agent and how much they do their due diligence. There's some real estate agents that call us, get all the information they can about a property. There's other ones that are bought and sold, and new landowner comes up, wants to do something, and they have no idea that there's floodplain on the property, or there's a conditional use permit, or they're only allowed to do certain things. It really goes back on that respect down to the real estate agents.
Well, but isn't the conditional use somehow flagged internally at the county? Or is it just basically at the planning department, you have to check there, and when you go sell a house, it's different? I kind of see what Barb is getting at.
Yeah,
mean,
I don't know
I'm kind
what-
of surprised that on the computer it's not tagged.
It would be both Register of Deeds and Department of Equalization have access to a software system called Track It. If the conditional use permit is for a property, it's mentioned in there that there is a conditional use permit, unless that staff member from those departments do research into that conditional use permit to find out what it is. I don't know, but it's never been, they've never really asked us about those. And, yeah, we don't get any information on the sales and purchases in the county of properties.
There seems to be a real information gap between departments here.
Well, here, if I may throw something in. What do you do in your department that it matters who owns the property? Nothing.
I'd agree.
It's all about the use of the property, not who owns the property. Everything goes
Yeah.
with the property. It doesn't go with the person, so there's no
Except in-
sense in them, I don't know why they need to know.
Except vacation home rentals.
Right, vacation home
Terminate
rentals.
Yeah,
if the property
that's
changes
it.
hand. That's the only one that's.
Or if there's a condition in the
there,
conditional
yeah.
use permit, we've had some conditional use permits that if the property changes hands, the conditional use permit is revoked automatically. That's normal.
And I've been troubled for a while that some of these home businesses transfer with the property, and doesn't seem sensible to me.
And what we
We'll
have
be
been doing
talking about
recently
that
is
later.
putting in those caveats of if it changes hands from one owner to the other, it does end.
So what you're saying is your department is in transition and changing hands has become something that's important
It has been.
and of growing importance.
Not necessarily to that respect. It has actually come from a discussion in the planning commission because of one over kind of a county island in the city. And we've started doing it since that discussion here in the planning commission because of a specific conditional use permit. The only way that the commission would allow it was if it actually was revoked when the landowner was no longer the owner of the property, essentially. It was done sporadically previously, but it's been something with this commission that's actually looked at as an option now. Again, our whole goal is to allow people to do what they want on the property as long as they stay within our zoning ordinance.
So it seems to me it might be better for a alternate motion, similar to the one we just did, make it a 5-year period or change of owner, at least to be consistent.
Okay, I need help with Robert's rules. If a motion has been made and seconded, must we vote on that motion before we accept
First.
a substitute
We're in
motion?
discussion now,
We're in discussion.
Right.
just a substitute.
Okay, we can do a substitute motion. Would you like to make a substitute?
So I will
motion?
make a substitute motion that we approve conditional use permit 1412 with 6 conditions, with 6th condition being modified for review in 5 years or at change of ownership and on a complaint basis, and the other words there.
Is there a second for that motion?
I'll second it.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded to approve the extension of conditional use permit CU 14-12 with 6 conditions. The 6th condition recommended by staff being changed to that this conditional use permit be reviewed in 5 years or upon change of ownership on a complaint basis or as deemed necessary by either the Pennington County Planning Commission or Board of Commissioners to verify that all conditions of approval are being met. Is there further discussion?
Madam Chair.
Yes.
I guess what Commissioner Musgrud had indicated, if the standard is going with the property, are we convoluting it now by all of a sudden kind of doing checkerboard of sometimes we are, sometimes we aren't on
Right.
transfer of property? Vacation home rentals, it's written into the ordinance. But if we're just kind of doing it here and there, it's going to be really confusing to know whether it's needs to be followed up with change of ownership or if it just goes with the property.
Is there further discussion? Would you like to make a substitute motion?
I would say for there's a certain amount of compromise here, but this is something that needs further discussion and perhaps not here while discussing individual cases.
I would agree, but I don't know. To me, like the 5-year is the check.
Here's the check.
In 5 years or 3 years, whatever we set, then that's your opportunity to see if ownership's changed.
Has
And
changed
if
as
it's
well.
changed, and we miss a year or two, I don't know if it's going to be the end of the world.
So I would modify my substitute motion to remove the requirement of change of ownership, just the 5-year review or complaint basis only.
Is that all right with the seconder?
Second, yeah.
Okay. It's been moved and seconded to approve the extension of conditional use permit CU 14-12 with 6 conditions. The 6th condition to read that this conditional use permit be reviewed in 5 years on a complaint basis or as deemed necessary by either the Planning Commission or Board of Commissioners to verify that all conditions of approval are being met. Is there further discussion? Hearing none. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign.
Thank you.
Motion carries. On to item 15.
Good morning. Item 15 is a construction permit review for CP 1508 to review a construction permit for installation of a culvert and water line on the north end of Summer Creek Drive to improve portions of Siskin Loop and Carbon Loop. Staff is actually recommending to continue this construction permit to the next Planning Commission meeting, as I have not heard back from the applicant or DENR regarding condition number 1. So I would like to verify that before I make a recommendation to end or continue the approval of this.
Move approval for staff's recommendation to continue to May 9th meeting.
Yes.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to continue construction permit CP 1508 to the May 9th Planning Commission meeting. Is there further discussion? I do have one comment. When this comes up for further discussion, can you please include a map of all the lots
Okay.
in your staff report? Because it's really difficult to see, you know, not knowing which lot is lot number 45. I couldn't tell where they were planning to stockpile stuff.
Sure.
Okay, that'd be great. Thank you. Is there further discussion? Hearing none. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. On to item 16.
Item 16 is construction permit review CP 1509 to review a construction permit to grade and level an area of a hillside in order to construct a building to stockpile material and to level and grade an area for an overflow parking lot. Staff is recommending to continue this to the May 9th Planning Commission meeting as to verify condition 1.
Move approval for staff's recommendation to continue to May 9th.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to continue construction permit CP 1509 to the May 9th Planning Commission meeting. Is there discussion on the motion? Hearing none. All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
Thank
On
you.
to item 17.
Item 17 is conditional use permit review, CU 0711 for Bernard Ness. This one was continued from the, let's see, what date was it? The last planning commission meeting? I can't remember the date. It was continued from the last planning commission meeting, and requested that staff look into condition number 8 that states that no material or auto parts be stored outside of an enclosed structure located on the property with the exception of a maximum of 4 vehicles that may be temporarily stored outside in the shop yard while repairs are being made. Staff did look into this. That condition has been in here since this permit was originally approved in 2007. Staff did review the initial staff report as well as the continuation staff reports. And the majority of the operation is conducted inside of the shop building. Staff has verified that through a couple of site visits. The applicant does utilize an engine lift that is located outside of the shop. There is minimal temporary storage of vehicles outside the shop while repairs are being made. Typically, it is required that a home occupation have everything associated with the business inside an enclosed structure. However, because of the applicant's isolated location and the likeliness that the vehicles will not be seen, staff believes that may have contributed to the inclusion of condition number 8. This property is over 600 acres. It is well away from any other property. It's approximately 2 miles north of the intersection of Longview Road and 154th Avenue, and it's roughly 3/4 of a mile from the nearest neighbor. So that's the best staff can determine based on previous staff reports.
I know, I'm the person who asked that this be looked at again, and, you know, much as I understand that these guys are way out in the middle of nowhere, it troubles me to be inconsistent across conditional uses. When we have you look at, and I always have to think about the Mills conditional use permit, where they are on East 44, just outside of town, and they're required to keep all of their stuff inside. And You know, I don't necessarily want them to have their stuff spread out all over the place, but it just troubles me that we are not consistent. And I would like to ask the rest of the planning commissioners what they think about that. I have a picture of the Mills's property, and they have fence. They could, you know, they could put stuff behind their fence. It just bugs me. Anybody?
Madam Chair.
But, yeah.
Yes.
Um,
Say-
I understand your concern, and I have the same concern, but at the same time, I think this is a perfect case where our comp plan needs to address rural areas differently than
versus
we're in a corridor of a 3-mile zone or Rapid City. You know, to me, what the staff is suggesting, it makes sense here. It just, but I do agree that I don't like the fact that we aren't consistent applying it the way we have to now. But I don't know. The logical sense of this is just let it go.
And as contrasted with Mr. Mills, I mean, in the future, if he ends up having neighbors that complain, well, it's a different situation. But at this point in time, I mean, he doesn't have, like, the Mills had neighbors that were basically monitoring him.
Right.
And if his neighbors, if he's not bothering them, he should be able to use the property as he's been using it. That's my opinion.
PJ?
Just on the item of consistency, it's absolutely important. Just keep in mind, this was from 2007, and that condition has been consistent since 2007. Any new conditional use permits that come in, we can definitely look at them that way. If you were to change that, you would make this conditional use permit more restrictive than it has been
Right.
since 2007.
So perhaps I should wait and bring this up when the Mills's conditional use permit comes up for review.
Either one.
Okay, is there further discussion? Since I made you guys do this, sorry, Cassie, I will recommend approval of the extension of conditional use permit. I will move approval of the extension of conditional use permit 7-11 with 9 conditions.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the extension of conditional use permit 711 with the following, with the 9 conditions recommended by staff. Is there further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion
Aye.
carried. One Commissioner Buskerud voted no. On to item 18.
Good morning again. Item 18 is CUP 1604 for a vacation home rental in a limited agricultural district. This item was heard at the last Planning Commission meeting. The applicant had requested that staff present it and not continue it at the last meeting, but the Planning Commission had decided to continue it based on a letter of concern that was submitted to you. I believe that Mr. Kaliza has submitted a response to that letter. It is in your packet, addressing some of those concerns. It's dated April 18th. But just a history, the property is owned limited agricultural district, which requires a minimum 10-acre lot size. This is actually 8 acres, but a lot size variance was obtained for this property in 2002. There's a single-family residence with an attached garage, an on-site wastewater system, a garage, a barn, and a shed on the property. The applicant has gone through the Department of Health inspection and has received favor. The fire coordinator has also indicated that he is satisfied that they have met SDCL 341822. At the last Planning Commission meeting, staff had recommended to approve it with 15 conditions. Staff is actually recommending to approve it at this Planning Commission meeting with 16 conditions with the addition of condition 14, which is a standard condition that the applicant obtain an approved building permit for any structure exceeding 144 square feet.
Thank you, Brittany. Are there any questions for her? If not, is the applicant here? He's not here, is he?
Yes, he
Oh,
is.
he is.
If you'd like to speak.
Would you like to say something about this?
Good morning.
Morning.
I'm Alex Kalesia. I am the property owner with my wife, Michael. No, we just want you guys to know we're gonna still be good neighbors. we're gonna basically wanna rent this thing out as a single-family dwelling. We're not gonna go out there and allow people to, you know, bring in 20 people and that kind of thing. And, you know, we want to continue to live there as well. So it'll be something that we'll be doing off and on. And primarily, it'll be more likely, as a lot of you guys have been through with the vacation rental homes, it's going to be in the summertime.
Okay. Are there any
Appreciate
questions?
if you'd go ahead and let us have that.
Madam Chair.
Yes.
What's your water source?
I've got a well, a single well that's on my property.
And is it tested on a frequent basis?
Yes, and we have had it tested.
Okay.
And we've met everything that you guys have thrown out there as far as requirements and what we do. And
This is kind of a bigger picture question, maybe not so much for your property, but I know it doesn't fall under the guidelines of transient non-community water systems because you need to service, I think, 25 people daily.
Right.
But my concern, you're still having, you know, up to 10 people coming through some of these vacation home rentals. And, you know, I think we should look at protecting the traveling public as far as water quality. I mean, as far as, you know, at least coliform testing of the wells if it's well used.
I think
I think
that's,
you should, I think there was a testing letter in there from Mid-Continent Testing Labs here in Rapid that we did for the Department of Health, and everything came back fine. And I can't remember right off the top of my head if that's an annual thing or if it's a quarterly thing. But
This one,
Yeah,
water
it's in
samples.
quarterly, then that's what we'll be doing.
it's in the Department of Health. Quarterly?
I guess I didn't remember seeing that water test.
It's in the Department of Health. Inspection form,
Okay.
water samples were submitted,
Okay.
adequate and safe. I think your point is very well taken, Sig, and maybe we can address that when we hear the vacation home rental on the 23rd of May.
Yeah, I don't see a frequency of testing. I just see that there were some initial samples submitted that passed, but
Right.
I don't see a frequency anywhere.
No, I know.
You know, if it's done annually or quarterly or what you guys do.
Yeah, boy, and I don't know off the top of my head. I was thinking it was in the documentation from
Yeah, I just-
the counties, that we had to do it a certain time, but
And like I said, I'm not necessarily aiming at your property. I guess I'm just kind
Yeah.
of a general statement that we should consider.
Yeah, do we know if the Department of Health requires testing, Brittany, for vacation home rentals?
oh, they require it.
Says-
But
it's
is
just-
it
Prior
a,
to opening.
I just don't know
Yeah,
what the.
that's what it says prior to opening.
Yes, and I don't know the actual frequency, but like Sig had mentioned, maybe adding that to the vacation home. The issue is, I think as part of their lodging license, they do have to do that, but I don't know what kind of recourse there is as far as our conditional use permit if it comes back unsafe
Yeah.
or something. And I think they just test for nitrate and coliform.
That's what it says.
okay.
So, but I don't think there's any, I don't know what their recourse is as far as the state, the timeline that they have to, you know, if they have to add a chlorination system or anything like that, I'm not sure what their,
I'm guessing it's probably pretty hard to grant a vacation home rental if you can't drink the water. If you have to put up a do not drink sign, that makes it a little
I
tough
know
to
that
rent.
notification is a requirement,
Yeah.
so.
Okay, are there any more questions for Mr. Kalisha? Thank you, sir.
You.
Anybody want to make a motion?
Yeah, I move that we approve conditional use permit 1604 with the 16 conditions as recommended by staff.
I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve conditional use permit 16-04 with the 16 conditions recommended by staff. Is there further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign, motion carries. On to the next item. Number 19.
Number 19 is conditional use permit CU 1605 to allow for a vacation home rental in a general agriculture district. The applicant is Spring Creek Hideaway LLC. The agent is Brent and Pam Vurink. Mr. Vurink is not able to be in attendance today. This property is currently residential. He has applied to use an existing 5-bedroom home as a vacation home rental. As it exists today, if the computer would cooperate with me, it is zoned general agriculture. It's only 0.97 acres. However, the plat was recorded in 1974, so the lot size is legal non-conforming. The access to this property is off of Barrel Springs Road via a 30-foot wide utility and private roadway easement. Currently contains a single-family residence and a detached garage and also an on-site wastewater treatment system. A large majority of this property is located within the 100-year floodplain and floodway boundaries. And all of the existing structures are actually in that floodplain and floodway. However, they were originally constructed prior to our zoning ordinance. This was routed through the interdepartmental review process, excuse me. The fire coordinator did have some concerns. I did send some additional documentation to the fire coordinator on April 20th. I have not heard back from him regarding if those documents would satisfy his concerns or not at this point. The applicant has complied with all of the application submittal requirements. They have designated a local contact for the vacation home rental. I have spoke with Mr. Vurink on a couple of occasions. During a phone conversation on April 19th, he did indicate that the inside of this residence is currently being completely renovated. He's not doing anything structurally to the outside. He's just redoing the inside of it, trying to prepare it to be a more satisfactory vacation home rental. He anticipates that the renovation will be completed by the end of this month. So the vacation home rental has not been state inspected at this time. They're waiting until all of the smoke detectors and everything are put back in the residence. But he will schedule that just as soon as renovations are complete. He would like to continue moving forward with the conditional use permits so that he can begin operating as soon as he is approved by county and state. And if this conditional use permit is approved, Mr. Vurink did agree to a very short review time to make sure that everything was met state-wise before he operates. I did again speak with him on April 20th regarding some of the concerns that the fire coordinator had. Mr. Vurink did explain to me where his exit doors are, where the egress windows are, things that addressed a few of the concerns of the fire coordinator. And then I did go out there on April 21st. I verified the structures on the property. I wish this would work so I could show you guys some pictures. They are completely re-renovating the inside. I did speak with the contractor when I was out there. He stated that they are on track to be complete here in the next couple of weeks. So staff will be recommending approval of this conditional use permit with a review right away at the June 13th Planning Commission meeting. Mr. Vurink is aware that he will not be able to operate as a vacation home rental until he has been inspected by the state and by the county. This is the outside of his residence. As you can see, they're still working on some things on the outside. This is the approach to the property. This is the inside. This would be the kitchen area, living room. I did verify that all the bedrooms do have egress windows. There are several egress windows throughout the property. So those are some pictures, and staff will verify when we go out there during the next review that the proper informational sign has been placed, that the proper number of fire extinguishers, smoke detectors, things like that are out there. They just haven't put them back in the residence yet. You could see the wiring for them for the smoke detectors, but they aren't actually placed yet since they're still in the middle of construction. So staff does recommend approval of conditional use permit 1605 with 18 conditions.
Thank you, Cassie. Are there questions?
Madam Chairman,
Yes.
what did
Commissioner.
you say about the floodplain?
Most of this property is located in the 100-year floodplain and floodway. The structures that are on here right now are in the floodplain and floodway, but they were built prior to our zoning ordinance, so they're legal non-conforming at this point. However, if he changes anything structurally and/or adds anything to these buildings, he would be required to get a floodplain development permit.
So all the construction he's doing is cosmetic?
Yes, it's just a remodel of the inside. He's not structurally changing anything.
Any other questions? Yes,
Oh.
Sig.
Not so much a question, but I guess a couple comments is, to me, grandfathering is fine for the owner, but now to put, again, the traveling public in there troubles me, that they may not be aware that they're, subject themselves to being in a floodplain, floodway. And the other thing that I brought this up before, I guess I don't like the idea when we grant a conditional use permit on something that has yet to happen. To me, it's sort of like, make it happen first, and then we prove it. Anyway, I've brought that up before.
I agree.
And I agree, that's where I was going to, is I cannot agree to vote for something that's placing 10 people in the middle of a 100-year floodway in the Black Hills. I think that's ridiculous. And whether it was grandfathered in or not, fine, but we have a responsibility for safety of people too.
Okay, Joyce.
Joyce Shagru, Public. I'm not familiar with this property, of course, but I share your concern about moving from single-family residence to a vacation home rental with guests in a floodplain. I can't imagine what the liability for the owner would be for that. We don't discuss that, we say these really aren't commercial, but they are. And that really concerns me, that we would allow an enterprise where we have traveling public in a floodplain. I don't know if the owners are here, but I would really be concerned about the liability for that and for the county if it's approved.
And there's nothing in the vacation home rental ordinance that covers this, is there? Since
Nothing,
you're a
nothing
resident
in that
expert.
ordinance that would cover this at all. It gets back to our problems with legal nonconforming and those that we have out there that do not conform to our current ordinances. And there's no way, as far as I understand it, that we can make them conform. That's just a concern.
Madam Chair?
Yes, Lori.
Because I'm wondering who would want to rent this house if there's a big sign that says 100-year floodplain?
Right.
That
right.
if there's a big disclaimer on there that says this property is, 95% within the 100-year floodplain.
And it may never have flooded. I'm not
yeah, I don't
familiar
know.
with this area, but that, those of us who remember what it's like to have residential areas flood, I purchased property 14 years ago on top of a ridge. I looked at some down by Rapid Creek, and I said, I can't sleep here. The first thunderstorm with much heavy rain, and I'm up on the hill. It's a concern to those of us who remember how terrible that is and how you can't always get out. I don't know what it's like to get out of this property, but, it's awful. So I'm concerned about that.
Thank you. I do have to say that I'm also a little bit concerned about the size of this parcel. I know it has a variance so that it's zone general ag right now, but it's a tiny piece, and right now we don't allow vacation home rentals in suburban residential districts, and this would be that kind of a lot. So that may change with the revisions to the ordinance, but right now, it makes me a little nervous.
Madam Chairman.
Yes, sir.
That was my concern with the last one we voted on. We give somebody a variance for a home, and all of a sudden, the next year, they change it into something else, and, oh yeah, well, I got the variance. Well, I'm not sure if you were gonna come up here and say it's a home, yeah, we maybe would have given it a variance. If you're gonna say that's a vacation home rental, I'm not sure they'd even got the variance. So, when they start changing from one use to another, maybe there's nothing you can do about the past variance, but to me, there should be something that, a different use connotates a different size lot that you really need, but I don't know. Just me.
Is there further discussion? Anybody want to step up here?
I would move denial of conditional use permit 16-05.
I would second.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to deny approval of conditional use permit CU 1605 with I'm sorry, yes, Cassie?
Can staff recommend denial without prejudice so that they can make
Reapply?
changes?
Is that okay with you as the motion maker?
No.
No? Okay, all right. Staff recommends approval. We are voting on a motion to deny approval of conditional use permit CU 1605. Is there further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Aye. I'd rather they get their money back.
Well, but that gives them the opportunity to come back, correct?
It does.
What's that, sir?
Well,
Okay, motion.
Maybe I'm misunderstanding, but deny with prejudice allows them to come back without refiling.
They have to come back with changes, significant changes. Denial, the only recourse they have is a 5-day appeal to the Board of Commissioners.
And that's, I guess, my preference with it being in the floodplain.
Okay.
I don't
All
know
right.
how you remove it in the flood, you know,
And put it on stilts.
yeah.
Well, and if they had substantial improvement to it, then they'd have to bring the entire property into compliance, and that's one thing we could figure out.
Okay, motion carries anyway, and conditional use permit CU 1605 is denied.
Thank you.
Item 20.
Item 20, Plan Unit Development 1601 to rezone 55.26 acres from Limited Agriculture District and General Agriculture District to a Plan Unit Development to allow for a resort development to include such uses as weddings, receptions, parties, picnics, small gatherings, a farmer's market, a pumpkin patch, wagon rides, and to include an indoor riding arena and to stable horses on site in the future. The applicants are Donna and Lyle Hartshorn. Again, the property is 55.26 acres. Essentially, staff is asking for this to be continued to the next Planning Commission meeting. Staff will be meeting with the applicant a couple hours after this. They were not aware that the agricultural uses on the property would go away with this plan unit development because they're not asking for those uses to be included. Therefore, the single-wide mobile home that is on the property as ranch hand residents would have to come off the property. So we're going to see what we can do as far as the uses that they propose to us to adjust this plan unit development application. So therefore, staff recommends the plan unit development 1601 to be continued to the May 9th, 2016 Planning Commission meeting.
Thank you, PJ. Any questions? Staff would entertain a motion.
I move that, let's see, that this item be continued to the May 9th Planning Commission meeting per staff's recommendation.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to continue PUD 1601 to the May 9th Planning Commission meeting. Is there further discussion on the motion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign, motion carries. On to item 21.
Item 21 is the County Board Report. The Board of Commissioners concurred with the Planning Commission's recommendations from the April 11th, 2016 Planning Commission meeting. The second reading of rezone 1603 and Comprehensive Plan Amendment 1602 for Mitch Morris was continued to the May 3rd Board of Commissioners meeting. The appeal of conditional use permit CU 1539 for Bellwether Limited Partnership, Janice and Roger Knutson as the agents. The Board of Commissioners overruled the Planning Commission's decision to approve this item. And also the appeal of telecommunications facility permit TC 1601 for Cellular Inc. Buell Consulting, Brian Cabot is the agent. The Board of Commissioners also overruled the Planning Commission's decision to approve this item.
Any comments? Lori?
Yeah, I was just, I'm just wondering, do you have any comments about the items that were not approved?
To my knowledge, I have not heard from, PJ, correct me if I'm wrong, we have not heard from either one of those.
Okay, I'm just
Regarding the
curious. I mean,
decision.
we're kind of batting
Yeah,
0-2.
Why?
Well, go ahead,
No,
PJ.
please, go ahead. You were there, I wasn't, I was going to rely on you guys.
I believe that in number 2, the appeal for Janice and Roger Knutson Bellwether Limited was pretty much about setting precedent in the county for an RV as a temporary residence.
In a suburban residential.
Yep, in suburban residential. And the appeal of the stealth monopine was basically because Verizon says they have coverage all over the county. If you look on their website and their coverage map, it says they have complete coverage. Now, I personally know they don't, but the commission.
The reason the last time, I mean, it's the same thing got brought up a year or 2 years ago or whatever, is, yeah, probably is some dead spots coming up the road, but, you're not supposed to be
On your phone.
texting anyway, and if you can't call, it's probably not an emergency. Until you drive down a half a mile, you can get coverage. So it seemed like a lot of grief over not much area that they're talking about.
Yeah, and Nancy's point also, Nancy Troutman's point was that the topography in the Black Hills is such that it's not reasonable to expect that you should have coverage everywhere. And with a 106-foot tower here, that would mean that there would be several other towers probably to extend coverage to other places, and they just decided that wasn't worth it. That'd be my guess.
Yeah, that's the reasons.
So basically, they didn't show necessity.
No, they didn't.
No. Commissioner Farabee asked for evidence of complaints, data on complaints, and they did not have that. So, had there been a groundswell of public saying, we need this, maybe minds would have been changed.
In fact, there was more people saying, I live out that way and I've got coverage. So, what are they talking about?
Yeah.
I think there is some, as you come up the hill, there's some spots that are dead probably.
Yeah. I can't make a call from my house. Wah. Any other comments on the county board report? Items from the public. I think we lost almost all our public. Oh, Joyce has something.
Joyce Chagrian, yes, I'm always here for a purpose. I don't come just for entertainment, although sometimes it would fit that criteria. I have actually 3 things. As you all know, I'm working on the vacation home rental ordinance. And what I'm finding, as you often find, is people will say, I didn't know, okay? And I mentioned to PJ before, so he knew what I was going to say up here. I'm a newspaper person. I'll go into the Millstone in the morning for coffee or breakfast, and I've got my newspaper, and I look around, and there's probably no one else with a newspaper. That doesn't mean that they're not looking for information. They're on their smartphones. And the paper is on the internet, but I don't know how much detail it goes into because I get the paper, I get the headlines on my email, but I don't go in for detail because I actually get the newspaper. And I am aware that you're required by law to put notices in the newspaper, and planning seems to be required to put more notices than any other department, I notice. The state is required as well, and they'll have special ads when they're changing administrative rules. And I spoke before the county commission the other day on the same thing, that if you haven't already, you should look at alternative, if you sincerely want input, which I believe you do. Now, everyone does not agree with me. Some believe that the government purposefully does not want input from the public because it causes problems. I don't agree with that, and I tell them that. I sincerely believe you want input. But look at other ways to get information out. And I had just discovered that Pennington County has a Facebook page. And so now I'm a friend of that Facebook page, and it will automatically come up on Facebook. And for example, they posted last week that one of the departments had something to do with a kids' fair, and it was on there. So that's a way, but look at ways to access the new technology with notices, for example, when we had the public meeting on the vacation home rental ordinance. We had about 10 people here, and I don't know whether they read the newspaper. There was one from my development. She was here because I talked with her. But if there are alternative ways to get the notices out there, or information out, that would be helpful. And then there are some that you're never going to reach, where some my age and older who don't use the computer, so that's not an avenue. You can't even find them on the telephone now because they use cell phones. It's a problem. But if there are alternative ways, I think that would further getting input. Then I wanted to talk a little bit about the comments. I know that one email was sent in to Jerry prior to the vacation home rental public meeting. And it's a struggle to get folks to step forward, to write a letter. They will more likely write a letter than step forward. I'm finding that folks are terrified to come to this podium, and the county commission even more so, because they feel like they're not articulate, their emotions are involved. It's really difficult to get them to come forward and speak. So if they do write a letter or an email, what I would suggest is that move forward through the process. And maybe it already does, but when I emailed Jerry, she said she was going to forward it to PJ. So, and I haven't heard a response because he's been gone, although he knows now that he's got an email from me. So because their opinions generally will not change from one step of the process to the next. So if that input could move forward, that would help folks like me, because to have someone send in an email, do the work of that, and then have to redo it complicates the problem, because they won't do it the second time. Now, what we're doing, and I checked with Jerry, and she said this was okay. What we're going to do from my development on the vacation home rental ordinance, and I found others have done this on others in the past, is we're going to write a letter, it's shared with everyone, and then we're going to have a signature sheet. So there'll be multiple signatures on that letter. Now, and to me, that's effective. It's a well-written letter, and that's effective. I know you don't want carbon copies of letters and get 1,000 of them with a signature on them. And this is sort of like that, but yet it's different. And I would think that getting 50 signatures on a letter would be more effective for you than getting 50 letters of the same thing. Okay, so that's what we're doing. But if it could move forward then from planning and zoning, when it moves forward to the county commission, that would be helpful. I can tell you, if I get those signatures this time, I'm not going to get them the second time. I mean, folks just rebel, and they think the system doesn't work, and why shouldn't it move forward? So please consider doing that if it's not allowable now. Then the other is more difficult. I attended the last county commission meeting because I watch every week. I check your agenda. I know your packets come out. I check every Friday or over the weekend. I know what's going to be on your agenda every week. That's how come I'm here today, because there were 3 vacation home rentals on your agenda today. And I want to hear what people have to say or what you discuss, okay? Because that helps me in what I'm trying to do. So I check your agenda and I check the county commission agenda. And the reason I came to last week's county commission meeting was because Karen and Sig were on the agenda. And I thought, now this is interesting because of what the agenda said. And then I wanted to comment on public input. So I listened to you. You did a great job, very diplomatic, but the message to me was very clear, sitting in the back. Okay. Now today, we have a vacation home rental that's in a floodplain, and I spoke to that, and you have denied that, okay? Will this then, and they're already reconstructing the inside of the house, okay, for the purpose of a rental. Will this now come before the county commission? These folks will appeal it. They've already started the construction. It didn't require a building permit, apparently. So what will be the grounds to overturn your denial? Okay, I watched the ones last week. As a matter of fact, I know some of the folks that were before you. And it's puzzling to me in the public. And I heard discussion about between you who look at the ordinances, you're very pragmatic, you're primarily a bunch of engineers. And I said, I have a brother who's a civil engineer, professional engineer, and very pragmatic, and it's very precise and mathematical, and I know you listen to people, but as I tell him, engineers generally can't walk and chew gum at the same time. Okay, they are not, they are very structured and scientific in how they proceed. Okay, so communication and public relations, you're great at it, actually, but it's not what you're trained to do. So, now I'm losing my train of thought here, getting off. So you make your decisions, as I view you sitting back there, based on what's in the ordinance, and you struggle with things that don't fit. And you struggle with things that make common sense, like one today, but it doesn't conform. So what do the county commissioners struggle with when it comes to them? I can tell you the public's perception of what it's all about. It's political. It doesn't have, when it hits the county commission, it doesn't have anything to do, or very seldom. This is public perception now. And I would disagree with part of this, and I'd agree with part of it. It doesn't have to do with the ordinance or whatever. It's more of a political process. And we all live with that, but it's very difficult to be on the other side then of the argument. So I'm just wondering what will happen today, because that man has already started working, although he must not need a building permit, or that would have come up. It reminds me of Rushmore Cave last week, when he's already building. That was much more contentious, and you took care of that. But what will happen with this, because he's already started and expended money? So that's just a question. And I tried to think how you could sort through that, because I understand what your point is, and Karen, you even alluded to it today. Have things changed? Has it always been this way, or is it different now? Are more being overturned than before, and should we anticipate that that's what's going to happen to us as we come before you and then the next step? I don't know, because I'm not intimately involved, but I think it takes some study, because it's going to be, at some point, really frustrating. Thank you.
I have a couple questions for you.
Okay.
Going all the way back to your first point about advertising, do you know how many friends or followers the county's Facebook page has?
No, I've not talked with anybody about it. Do you?
Here's our media man.
It's great. I mean, it's great. It pops up on my Facebook every day, so.
Andy Myron, Commission Staff Assistant. I can actually pull our Facebook page up if you'd like.
And I don't know what your rules are for posting. I'm sure there must be some. You
I'm sure
can't just.
Kinsley knows them.
Since last week at the commission meeting, I have addressed a couple of things that you spoke about. We are now posting meeting schedules for the commission, YouTube links to the commission meeting videos, and trying to think what else we've been doing. But we've been gaining followers. It's kind of hard because we don't have funding for a Facebook page. And it does all work on algorithms and things like that. So the more you pay, the more people will see. And this isn't loading. But actually have it up in the AV room because I was looking at it as you were speaking. So I'll pull that up real quick and just route it.
So I made a difference. Because he paid attention. That's great.
And I guess another question is for staff. When things are appealed, decisions that we make are appealed to the county commission, do all the letters and emails and stuff go to the county commissions? So are things
That's a
forwarded?
long answer. Yes.
Really?
They get what you got. If anything
Okay.
additional comes in, it's added, but it's mentioned that it came in after the fact.
Okay, so
Okay,
does that
it's-
satisfy
it
you
is-
on that
It
one?
moves forward, so that's good. That will help me then, so that people don't have to, repeat what they do. Okay.
Okay. So that was what you meant when you said people would have to do it again?
Yes.
You didn't know that they
Yes.
were, okay.
Right, because I had that question asked of me, so I emailed Jerry to ask her, or I called, I can't remember which, and she emailed back, she referred it to PJ, which made me think there wasn't an automatic answer to it.
That's a good thing. Okay, yeah, answer.
Okay,
It looks like we're up to 193 likes on Facebook.
193.
And I think we started in, I want to say November with 0. So it's going up, but of course it does take time. And me and Holly have been discussing about possibly looking into funding for next year's budget. Not a lot, but it's a possibility. And yeah, so this is our Facebook page. And with legal notices, we don't want to put legal notices on our Facebook page, but I am working with IT to possibly put it on our website. Because like I said, with algorithms and you put a bunch of legal notices on the Facebook page, it's going to bury us in people's feed. So people would actually be less likely to see our page if we put up a legal notice every day. But
I didn't know this was out there, and I check Facebook. I mean, I'm a small user. The reason I got on was because of a grandchild who was posting, and I was concerned. And then, I don't want a whole bunch of stuff, but like South Dakota Wildland Fire, for example, I follow them, it pops up automatically. I knew immediately that we had the fire down by Hill City, and then you can keep track of how it's going. And of course, I don't know, I'm interested in fire, I don't know if you all know that or not. But if people need to know that it's out there, and I consider myself pretty well informed, and I watch. And I didn't see any big thing in the paper about, okay, Pennington County has a Facebook page. And do some of the departments also have their own?
I believe emergency management has a Facebook page. The sheriff's office has a Facebook page.
But does planning?
Planning does not have a Facebook page. I would consider planning under the umbrella of ours. The sheriff and emergency management had theirs before we did. They have a lot more followers. People like what the sheriffs post, and emergency management with their CERT training and all the stuff they do. They have quite a bit more followers than we do, which is to be expected. I'm not sure if it's in their budget or what they do to get more followers, but they have also been around quite a bit longer than ours has.
And it would help folks like me who are trying to generate interest and sort of quell this. I don't know if they're on Facebook, I can say, okay, get their web page or get their Facebook page, and then you'll know what's going on. Because I want to reinforce this, and sincerely think you want input, especially on the subject I'm interested in. That I think would be helpful, and you have to be careful what you post. I understand all of that. But the fact that it pops up automatically now, I'm going to see whatever you post because it automatically comes up on my Facebook page. And I know others, for example, take public broadcasting and some of the things they put, I mean, you just know they've got all kinds of social media accounts. You know, you can call in, or you can use their email, or you can use Facebook or Twitter or any of those. And that's constantly running across the different local programs. And so you can't miss it if you watch TV. As far as public broadcasting is concerned, and you guys don't have that same avenue, but if you'd let us all know somehow when it's new and it's out there, you know, it'd be an automatic with me and people I talk to. Some just get the newspaper on Sunday, and I would guess it's probably for the comics. I don't know. They'll say to me, well, Joyce, when you get the paper, will you tell me what's in it? And so there has to be a different way in this day and age. That is not it anymore. I mean, it's just not it. Okay, good.
Thank you. Thank you
Right.
both very
Yep,
much.
thanks.
Do you guys have any comments? No? We're good. Any other public? Mr. Kalisha, do you have anything to add? Thank you. Items from staff. Anything? Items from membership.
Madam Chair.
Yes.
I guess the question I had is on items 9 and 10. You guys have a full load of things to do, and like, to me, those almost could have been administratively handled when it's, you know, let's see, what was it?
Also 11 and
Item 3
Batch
was
plan.
a little bit different to ending it because it wasn't with their concurrence, but if it's with their concurrence, I mean, it seems to me you could almost do it administratively and not have to write a report.
Yeah.
You got other things to do.
I
mean,
Also, items 11 and 12, where they withdrew their application.
Yeah, and I don't know if that's what Commissioner Landis was actually getting at earlier when I mentioned, like, oh, that's a great idea. We could definitely look at changing the ordinance so that we can do more reviews administratively. It would save staff time, because we can do it with a memo. That's how administrative reviews are done now on other things that are allowed, and it would save time at the meetings.
I would be perfectly happy if you just gave us a list, you know, under your items from the staff. These were discontinued with the applicant's concurrence, so that we know. If anybody's interested in any of them, that would be perfectly fine.
And like, to me, again, like that, you know, number 3 wasn't with their concurrence necessarily, you know, and so, I mean, to me, that probably shouldn't be administrative. But I mean, some of these that are even automatically revoked by by the conditions that we're putting in, almost shouldn't have to come in front of us.
Unless the applicant would want to argue it, yeah.
Right.
Yeah, if they appeal it, but I
Yeah.
mean, if it's with their concurrence, to me, it's like it's slam dunk, save you guys from doing the report.
We could definitely look at it, come up with a criteria that allows things to be administratively reviewed, that'd be great.
Yeah. We need an ordinance amendment for that, perhaps. I don't know.
Got a lot coming.
Yeah, I asked
We're gonna be busy
question.
doing those next year.
Yes.
About item 5, after our discussion about item, whatever it was, the other one.
7.
Was it 7? Or was it not, well, whatever one.
7, yeah.
Should we go back, is there any way we can go back and change the condition in item 5 so it's not at change of property? Because we talked about how that's going to make a patchwork of piecemeal conditions related to that?
Consideration of motion. It has to be at this meeting.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, does it make sense? Because during the discussion of that one, we said, well, we don't want that phrase in there, or at change of ownership, because then makes, you know, these oddball things all over the place.
That occurred to me too.
Yeah,
I don't remember that we did include that phrase in the motion
It is
on item
included.
5. It
Yeah.
is?
It is
I
included.
believe so.
I'd have to go back to the minutes.
Because first you read it, and I said, no, I think Barb wants that, or change of ownership. And then you said, oh, yeah, that's right.
I'm pretty sure it's in there, too.
I'm pretty sure it got added, and then at a later item, we said, we don't want that in the condition. And
Right.
I think to be consistent, it should be removed.
And I'm in favor of consistency and change of that, but I still would like to have further discussion on this as an issue rather than attached to a CUP.
Would you like to make a motion for reconsideration of item number 5?
So is that what I should do? I would like to reconsider item number 5 and the changes we made to the 6th condition. I think we should remove the phrase "or at change of ownership," just to be consistent with what we discussed.
Is that a motion?
Is that what I do? I make a motion?
It's still unclear whether it was part of the motion or not. So you might be making a motion that not
But
necessary.
I'm pretty sure it was.
Pretty sure too.
But
Okay. If
I
you guys want
honestly
to, we can
don't-
always bring it up next meeting, so.
I don't think it was,
After the
but
tape's listened to.
see, and I think
why
it
don't you
was.
include that in your
You
motion
can,
then?
I think the way we do it is you can make a motion to, at least give notice that you plan on reconsidering it at the next meeting. That's the way we would do it. Instead of reconsidering it now, a reconsideration really should be done at this meeting. So what we have instituted is, I'm gonna give notice that I plan on reconsidering that at the next meeting when we find out more about it. You could do that. You could do it that way.
How
And
about-
maybe
how about
add
we-
for cause
How
to
about
that?
we reconsider, we say we're going to reconsider at the next meeting if we did include that phrase?
In item 5, in the
Because I don't believe we
Yeah,
did.
yeah.
Okay, or just,
Make it conditional?
yeah, take it out now if it was
If it
included.
was included.
You could do that too.
Okay. That's my motion then. Take it out if it was included, because I think it was, but
Yeah, I'll second that.
You got that, Jerry?
Okay, on item number 5, Jesse Reeves conditional use permit. It's been moved and seconded to approve the extension of conditional use permit CU 1409 with 6 conditions. And in the sixth condition, if we included the phrase on change of ownership, that phrase be removed. Is that clear?
if it was included,
If
yeah,
it was
yeah,
included,
yeah.
yeah. Is there a second to the motion? Oh, yes, Barb
Second,
seconded.
Barb seconded.
Okay. Further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Is there anything else? Oh, I would like to say a few words about the county commission meeting on items for membership. Sig and I went before the county commission last Tuesday and asked them about their philosophy of development. We specifically mentioned the fact that we have some issues within the 3-mile limit, and the consensus on the commission seemed to be that we take the third option that we listed in our memo, which was to convene a committee of county and city people to resolve issues within the 3-mile border around the city on an ongoing basis. One of the things that came out of that discussion that frankly surprised me is Nancy asked, we were talking a little bit about the Kroll mining decision, and she said, do you guys not feel like you can call DENR and get them to come and testify? And frankly, it never had occurred to me to do that. So apparently, we should feel free, you know, if we're really flummoxed by something, to call for additional testimony from wherever we need it, I guess. So that was very useful. In terms of the philosophy of development, I'm not sure we got a very clear answer on that one, but we did get some support for revision of the comprehensive plan. I know there are large budgetary issues involved there, but I think we tried really hard to make it clear that it doesn't give us direction in terms of philosophy of development, and that sometimes that makes us uncomfortable. So we're hoping that the county commission will actually, will do that.
There's
you have
not
any-
unanimous support.
It was not
for that.
unanimous support. Commissioner Hadcock, we're going to have to drag her kicking and screaming, I think, into that column. Do you have anything to say about that, Commissioner Busker?
I don't. I thought, did we give you some direction on the comprehensive plan?
Nothing additional from that last meeting, nothing after it, no.
Because we need to do something. I'm not 100% sure I am in agreement with the number 3. I'm more of a, let's just look at what the city has in their 3 miles and let's just do that.
Go with their
Because
plan.
it's there, that's where it's all happening, and I'm not sure why we have much to say about it, but that's just my opinion, and that's not, I guess, the opinion of the majority of the board was they want to keep their fingers in in what's happening in that 3 Mile area, and that's fine with me too, but I think we need to do something with the comp plan. I don't know what exactly, because it's gonna cost some money, true, and Rapid City, I mean, they've already done the 3 Mile jurisdiction, so.
As a resident in the 3 Mile limit, I have no representation in Rapid City, and that is a major issue for me. And so just having the county turn that over to Rapid City to do what they will in the 3 Mile limits is not something that I think I can support wholeheartedly.
Well, they already have 1 mile jurisdiction in a lot of things, but.
Yeah.
But no, yeah, absolutely, that's the point.
Well, and I guess I find that interesting, because I mean, like, the city was fairly strong against no on Mitch Morris, and yet the county's going the opposite way. So we aren't kind of doing what the city comments were on that, so.
It's, I don't know.
Political.
We'll have to, it will be a struggle for the comp plan in the 3 Mile area, because, it's gonna cost us, what, $50,000-$60,000 for a comp plan, maybe more?
Originally, when it was estimated through Clarion by the previous director, that was the company that did Rapid City's 3 Mile. They were gonna do a comp plan, a zoning revision, and also a nuisance ordinance, and it was $170,000. But it was, you could take one of those portions out and make it less.
And if we have the same people do it, all we're gonna get from them is a Xerox copy of what they did for the city for $100,000.
When I can vote in the city elections, I'll be very happy to,
When you're ready to pay the taxes that we pay in the city,
Well,
we'd be more than happy to have you pay it.
that would be rezoning, and that would be absorbed into Rapid City, which is not happening.
I mean, we got people living in the valley that want streetlights, they want curb and gutter, but they don't want to be in the city, and they don't want to pay for it. And they want paved streets, and they don't want to pay for it. They want everybody else in the county to pay for them. So we have our problems in the county, too.
We do, definitely. PJ?
And last budgetary year, we asked for money for the comp plan, added it to an overlay district money. So we're slowly putting
You
money
got
aside.
some in there, don't you?
About 46,000. Instead of asking for everything at once, we've been slowly accumulating it, and you guys just keep
And
continuing.
the way it
it.
sounds, we don't have the time to slowly accumulate it. We should be doing it faster. So
Right,
maybe
right.
this is the year to.
We would appreciate that
We all would
very much. I
appreciate
think
it.
it would help
Yes.
a lot.
And how many votes does it require to, on the county commission? Does it require 4 out of 5 or 3 out of 5? I think we might be there.
I think, it's all, you can get three votes easy enough, but it's all based on how much money it's gonna cost us, you
Right.
know?
Yep, we get that.
Everybody wants everything and as government, but nobody wants to pay for it. And that's always a problem.
Well, they want everybody else to pay for it.
Well, that's closer to the truth, yeah.
And just a quick update, if I could, on the city-county meetings. Lindell and the mayor started these meetings a long time ago. I think we're on to like our 9th or 10th meeting now. And different commissioners come to those meetings every once in a while. But what we're in the process of doing now is producing those maps to see what issues there actually are as far as zoning within the plating buffer for the county and the city. We definitely understand Commissioner Lander's opinion, because she's not the only one to have ever said that. I mean, that's more of what we hear is her concern, is similar to her concerns as far as just giving it over to the city. But we are actually looking right now, believe GIS has produced at least one copy of the maps to see what zoning issues there really are, to see where we don't agree.
Great. That'll be very
I'm
useful.
not sure that I meant give it over to the city as much as, we should be in cooperation with the city. I mean, if they decide that they want to do something in the 3 Mile area, maybe we should agree with that. I don't know. I don't agree with giving it all to them to control it.
A previous statement was done by the previous director over in the city, in the planning department, where he had mentioned that, well, just have county staff enforce city regulations and city zoning in there. Well, we don't agree to that.
No, not much sense. To
So it's enough just to
We don't
enforce
have the
county.
same zoning classifications.
No, we basically be doing two entities' jobs, so.
I would agree with what Karen had said as far as, what Nancy had said as far as, calling somebody up, because I mean, like, well, on the Kroll, I mean, we asked for a letter from DOT, we got a very brief letter, and like, to me, that's not the same of having someone stand in front of you and be able to ask them questions. Same with DNR. I mean, I feel like, there is times where, we don't want to hold up the process and continue it to get that expert or, that agency in here. But I think at times we should.
I agree. I absolutely agree. Although I have to say, the people who testified from DENR were not particularly forthcoming. Yeah, it was a struggle of a discussion. Anything else? Any other items for membership? All right. Anybody want to make a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. All in favor? Signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. We are adjourned.
Thank you.